Exercise Tri-Shakti is a massive tri-service exercise to practice multi-domain operations. That is, operations not just combining actions, synergizing actions in the land, in the sea and in the air, but also in the domains of cyberspace, outer space and the electronic warfare spectrum. It is an exercise which is designed to ingest the lessons we have learnt from the Russia-Ukraine war, ongoing non-stop for over 3.5 years, from the Middle East conflict, where there was supposedly a peace plan, peace talks, but the conflict is raging unabated. It also seeks to ingest the lessons we have learnt from Operation Sindoor. It also seeks to practice new concepts, techniques, tactics and doctrines. It plans to test our newly minted theaterization concept, a single theatre of war combining all elements of military power, state power. It's a very timely exercise. The Pakistan was constructing infrastructure facilities in the Sar Creek. Major, accretions in force levels in terms of, marine battalions were being created. Marine battalions had been raised to be deployed in the tidal Sar Creek, 96-kilometer long tidal Sar Creek, where there is a dispute about where exactly the boundary lies. Shalweg principle, middle of the channel, or as Pakistan claims, on the Indian side of the channel. And that quite concomitantly affects the exclusive economic zone, the EEZ. That area is one of the richest fishing grounds in South Asia and in the world. Tuna, fish, prawns, you name it, it is one of the richest fishery grounds in the world. So as it is of economic consequence, but there is also reports of oil and natural gas in this area, which Pakistan has already promised to the United States that it will sell it all to the United States. And to that extent, it will kick India's butt and throw it out of the Sar Creek channel and claim all this land. The Pakistani Navy chief has already made 2 visits to Sar Creek. He is very grandiosely handed them over 3 hovercrafts, large hovercraft as some sort of, game-winning factor kind of a thing. So all this hectic level of activity clearly indicated that Pakistan's intentions as far as Sar Creek were concerned were not benign. They were not good. India has issued stern and clear warning to Pakistan to desist, to back down or face consequences. These have come from no less than the Raksha Mantri himself. Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh clearly told Pakistan, don't mess with the Sar Creek. The way to Karachi lies through Sar Creek. And if you misbehave, we will change your history and geography. The same message was cleared in as unequivocal terms by the Army Chief General Dwivedi, and also warning was added on by the stern admonitions of the Air Chief Marshal A.P. Singh. Pakistan has been duly warned, and it would persist in antics in the Sar Creek only and only at its own peril. Only at its own peril. There is an even more subtle strategic edge to this exercise, which most military observers, not only in South Asia but all over the world, have failed to grasp. Let me spell it out in unequivocal terms. Right? The so-called peace negotiations, peace talks that were held between Pakistan and Afghanistan in Qatar and then in Turkey have broken down, completely broken down. They were reduced to invective being exchanged by the Punjabis with the Pathans, right? Invective, downright simple, clear and very filthy invective. Why? Pakistan made the grandiloquent claim that by a treaty it has agreed to have American, UAV drone bases, and it has given the right to America to attack any targets in Afghanistan, and therefore it is bound by that by that treaty with the United States. What about Afghanistan's sovereignty? Pakistan wants to curtail Afghan sovereignty. As far as Pakistan is concerned, Afghanistan is not a natural state. It is a vassal state. It is strategic depth, nothing more than strategic depth. They don't care a damn for Afghanistan. They think it is their father's property, right? And they have the right to bomb it anytime they want. Pakistan has gone to the extent of asking Afghanistan that the Pakistani Air Force, the so-called bloody Fizaya, should have the right to bomb any Tehreek-e-Taliban base or concentrations in Afghanistan. Afghanistan has rightly pointed out that they are not in our area. They are, sir, operating in your area, in Pashtunkhwa, in Peshawar and other places. Why don't you deal with them there? What are you threatening Afghanistan for? And in the name of tackling the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, you have been bombing Kabul, you have been bombing Afghan civilian villages. In earlier bombing attacks by the F-16s, you killed 52 women and children. 4 more bloody air attacks have taken place since then, also inclusive of drone strikes. Pakistan has also, Afghanistan has also started giving you back. In fact, the Taliban comeback was remarkable for its ferocity. It attacked 5 Pakistani outposts and the Torkham and the other major crossing over points. And it, almost about 200 Pakistani casualties, right? 93 Pakistani killed, 93 Pakistanis killed. Pakistan in turn claimed to have killed about 200 Taliban fighters, etc., etc. It had very little evidence to show. Afghanistan had reams and reams of photographs to show of the rout of the Pakistani army, including the trousers they had left behind. The trousers they had left behind, which the Afghan forces were very triumphantly waving on top of their bayonets of their rifles, right? And quite obviously there was all hell to pay, and there was Khwaja Asif, the Pakistani defense minister, who had the least amount to do, because the Pakistani army doesn't let any civilian flutter anywhere close to their armed forces decision making, right? But he makes tall claims, outlandish statements, ridiculous, asinine statement, which makes a laughing stock of himself. He's been talking of that our patience has been exhausted and we will now launch massive attacks on Afghanistan. If so, sir, you will need the 11 and 12 cores. You may also need elements of the Karachi 5 core and the 31st core. Please observe that to that extent, exercise Tri-Shakti has been extremely well timed. With the 21 strike core, the Sudarshan Chakra strike core, hovering on the borders of Sar Creek and Karachi. Let's see you take what elements that you want to take out from these critical cores that are also would be called into play if Pakistan had to do any mischief against Afghanistan. Pakistan thought that Afghanistan has no air force, and to that extent we can play merry hell because we have the Fizaya, and Pakistan is unarmed. Afghanistan is relatively unarmed in comparison. They have only land forces, and that too not more or less standard military, standing conventional armies, but more of a ragtag guerrilla outfit with a lot of American largesse left behind from their route of a withdrawal from Afghanistan. $7 billion worth of weapons had been left behind, which Afghanistan has put to good use against its so-called former mentor and benefactor. It was less of a benefactor, much more of an oppressor, much more of a murderer, which had carried out virtually ethnic cleansing of the Afghans. It had exposed the Afghan population to slaughter. Then the worst was that Asim Munir, Field Marshal Asim Munir, Mullah Asim Munir, has made 3 trips to Washington in 3 months. He suddenly thought that, I have become a darling of Donald Trump, and that qualifies Pakistan to be a superpower which will kick each and every one of its neighbors around and be a provider of security to the Middle East, if you please, to Saudi Arabia and the peacekeeping force in Gaza. मैं करूँगा मेरे आका. Here is a suitcase full of rare earth, and there is more to follow, and I am just going to grab the Sir Creek and give you all the oil from there. And sir, if you want Bagram, just tell me. You just have to indicate to me your desire, and before you wish it, thy wish will be done. You ask me to jump and I'll ask you how high. I will get you Bagram. This is Pakistan's ostensible promise to the United States of America. I will get you Bagram. How? I will bomb the daylights out of the Taliban. I will bomb their villages to rubble, kill their women and children, and they will be on their knees. And if you truly want to get Afghanistan to its knees, sir, I have already blocked all food transshipment over the land route from India to Afghanistan. I have blocked the flow of medicines, relief material, tents, etc., excavation material. I have blocked it as by the overland route. But these pesky Indians, they are sending food to the Afghan population through Chabahar. So please block Chabahar, please impose sanctions. When the Afghans starve, they will be on their knees, they will beg you, please take Bagram, sir, but हमें खाना दे दो, हमारे बच्चे भूखे मर रहे हैं. This is Pakistan's, most horrendous bloody design for its neighbors. It wants to treat Afghanistan as a vassal state. It wants to curtail the sovereignty of Afghanistan. Yes, in purely military terms, it is got a standing army, unlike the Afghanistan Taliban, which don't really have a standing army. They used to have a standing army of almost 2 million, in the time of the Hamid Karzai government and its successors. But that, was just dispersed as the Americans were fleeing. This army decided we've had enough, and they just dumped their uniforms and went home, because the Taliban was on a roll, thanks to American desire to flee as fast as possible and Pakistan's perfidy. They knew they were sunk. So they have done that, but they can always be called back. They know how to drive tanks. They know how to man anti-aircraft guns. They also had Air Force pilots who could fly rudimentary Russian aircraft. So all that can again be revived to give a fair amount of caution to Pakistan. And if Pakistan is planning to launch a major core-sized offensive into Afghanistan to teach it a lesson as to who is the boss, Pakistan is the boss of South Asia. It can kick any country that it wants in the butt. It is a nuclear power, you see. And it is emerging as Donald Trump's favorite field marshal, favorite prime minister. My God, that makes it a superpower. It can kick any and every one of its neighbors, including India, including Iran, including Afghanistan, including the Central Asian states. It will kick them around. I mean, these are the triumphalist mindset in Pakistan. 2-3 words of praise from a Gora and it has gone to Pakistan's bloody head. Pakistan is strutting about as the superpower in South Asia, a superpower that will kick India around, that will kick Afghanistan around and Iran around, a superpower that will provide security provider to the Middle East, Pakistan that will police the ceasefire in Gaza, disarm the Hamas, mere aaka aur kuch bolo. And it had invited the Hamas to Jammu and Kashmir to have joint training camps with the Jaish-e-Mohammed and other cartoon networks in the POK. This is the perfidious nature of the Pakistani bloody state, too clever by half. The Pakistani generals are poor at arithmetic, they are much better at guzzling whiskey, though they claim to be mullahs and maulanas, much better at guzzling whiskey. Sober down a bit, drink less, and take a look at the hard military realities. Exercise Tri-Shakti is on, right? It can easily be extended. It can be converted into actuals if you misbehave, right? And if you think that in this time you will use the 11 and 12 core and possibly elements of 5 and 31 core to attack Afghanistan, you might like to think again. The exercise has been well timed.